This is Storyception.
Because today we're going to talk about how the Batman follows the storytelling framework. Happy Halloween, guys. It's Jesso Singh here, and if you're new to this channel, Storyception is a series of videos where I'm going to take you through some of my favorite films, new and old, and also take requests from you guys, the fans, to see if we can reverse engineer the storytelling and learn just why we fell in love with these movies in the first place. So I remember the first time that I watched The Batman last year. I felt encapsulated. From the iconic Something in the Way soundtrack, revitalized by its use as a Batman theme, to the muscle car Batmobile and chase sequences, to the character study of a Batman that doesn't yet know what it's like to be Bruce Wayne. It all set the tone and vibes for a fresh take on Batman that's much quieter, but also very intense in its execution. So with that, let's begin with Act 1. Act 1 is where we introduce the main character, their ordinary world, and a powerful desire that propels them onto an adventure. In the opening image of this film, we see a spectator spying on a man through binoculars from across the rooftops. The man, dressed in a tie and vest, sips whiskey while his son goes out for Halloween. And alone at home, he listens to a news broadcast. Unexpectedly, the spectator emerges from the shadows behind him, and he violently bludgeons the man using a carpet tucker. This spectator is dressed in a blackish green jumpsuit with glasses covering his eyes, but still we can see a piercing, crazed look seeping through them. This is our violent introduction to the Riddler. Later, we discover that this victim was actually Gotham City's mayor. So this shocking crime will have great repercussions for Gotham City entirely. And so we move into establishing the ordinary world. It's a rainy Halloween night. A heavy voice narrates the scene in the background. People are decked out in their costumes, even in the pouring rain. Amongst the civilians, we see a crook wearing a face mask, robbing a local deli for money. Elsewhere, a group of graffiti artists spray paint bold words on what seems to be a government building. This is our first glimpse into a gloomy and crime-infested Gotham City. In the skies above, the Batman symbol gleams. The deep voice returns, describing how the darkness and shadows of the night now evoke fear in these street thugs. The symbol in the sky serves as a warning to criminals, shining brightly and frequently. Next, a man with glasses rides a train, sharing a car with a rowdy gang of face-painted men. When they reach the station, the man departs, and the gang follows in pursuit. They chase him down and seize him. Among them is a younger man with only half his face painted, perhaps symbolizing his incomplete initiation, a part of his humanity still intact. He's pulled forward and ordered to punch and knock out their victim, but he is reluctant to do so. Suddenly, footsteps start echoing louder and louder in the pouring rain, and out of the shadows emerges Batman. He faces the thugs, painfully striking down the first one who boldly approached him, and when he finishes beating him, he proclaims in a threatening voice,
"I'm vengeance."
And then he systematically beats down on the entire crew, one by one. The last thug, the young man with a half-painted face, flees in fear of him. That man with glasses also lies beaten down against a gate, and Batman approaches him. The man, already hurt, pleads with Batman.
Please don't hurt me.
Batman is taken aback by this request because his intention is not to inflict more pain, not on the innocents of Gotham. So this is the ordinary world of Gotham so far, and a lot has already happened. Bruce Wayne is already Batman in this story, and he's been doing this nocturnal vigilante work for 2 years now. But Gotham is still riddled with criminals and small-time street goons. But Batman walks amongst the public in disguise, ready to strike when he's needed to, like an element in the shadows. Batman knows he can't be everywhere, but he thrives on fear. The mere idea of him lurking in Gotham terrifies criminals. He and Gordon have a signal that's both a call for Batman when the city needs him and a warning for wrongdoers in the night. They don't know where he is, but the fear of his presence keeps them in check. And the innocent people of Gotham don't know much about him yet either, and they might fear him too, because he's not yet a symbol of hope and justice. However, Batman is certain of one thing: that he represents vengeance. And that, you guys, is the theme stated. At the crime scene of the mayor's murder, the Riddler leaves a note addressed to Batman. And when Batman arrives to examine everything, he's given that note by the police. It gives him a clue, but it's encrypted by a riddle that he now has to solve. This is Batman's call to adventure, because not only is this a high-profile crime in which the city mayor was murdered, the culprit behind it is boldly inviting Batman into the frame. It's a departure from the kinds of criminals that Batman's been fighting thus far. The Riddler doesn't seem to fear Batman in the same way as the other small-time street thugs do. As we also learn from a news broadcast, Bruce Wayne's parents were murdered in the exact same week, around 20 years prior, apparently during Thomas Wayne's own mayoral campaign. And this eerily resembles the murder now of the current mayor of Gotham. Perhaps all of this connects back to the Wayne family and Batman himself, but I guess we'll find out. Getting back into his cave, Batman unmasks and reviews the recordings of the crime scene for further investigation. And here we see his butler and caretaker enter, Alfred Pennyworth. Alfred tries to remind Bruce about his responsibilities as the sole heir of the Wayne Empire, that he must keep his family's business and legacy both intact. Bruce then spells out that Batman is his means of upholding his family's legacy and striving to bring the change that they envisioned for Gotham. His dedication to this mission knows no bounds, as he wholeheartedly commits himself to the role, regardless of personal sacrifices to his body or his wealth. In a heated moment, Bruce asserts to Alfred,
Stop. You're not my father.
This is Bruce's way of silencing Alfred from interfering in his matters, even though Alfred is just concerned about the man behind the mask. This is the refusal of the call for Batman and Bruce Wayne. He's insisting on always being Batman, neglecting the fact that to the external world, Bruce Wayne still exists and has responsibilities to uphold. So we've often witnessed this reoccurring theme in the various portrayals of Bruce Wayne's character throughout the years. The relationship between Alfred and Bruce remains a consistent dynamic, where Alfred is going to care deeply for Bruce, akin to a father figure, even though he may not have that authority to do so. In turn, Bruce is going to consistently push the limits in his pursuits as Batman. And so Alfred serves as the grounding force, as also evident in Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, and now in this new film as well. And I'm personally intrigued to see how it evolves in the upcoming sequels of this new adaptation. But moving forward in the story, the entire city comes together for the mayor's funeral, including Bruce Wayne donning his real identity now. As everyone gets settled down in the church, Bruce notices a mysterious man in glasses standing on the floor above him. The harsh glare of sunlight obscures the man's face, but he gazes intently in Bruce's direction. All of a sudden, a graffitied SUV car crashes into the church through a window, and so occurs our stunning surprise number 1. Bruce makes a leap for the mayor's son and saves him from the crash. Bruce was watching this young kid earlier. Bruce definitely feels a parallel of his life story, as he went through it as well 20 years prior, being orphaned and having to deal with that grief at such a young age. And then emerging from the vehicle, we see Gotham's district attorney, Gil Colson, with duct tape covering his mouth, a smartphone taped to his hand, numerous bruises on his head and face, and a deadly collar bomb fastened around his neck, primed for detonation. The entire church is evacuated immediately, and now Batman arrives to help Colson. This has been our break into Act 2. This is where Batman will have to surrender not only his physical well-being, but also challenge everything that he knows to be true to achieve his ultimate mission, taking down the Riddler. So the phone receives a call, with Riddler FaceTiming them. And in a twisted fashion, this is our sequence number 4, meeting the mentor. And that mentor for Batman is none other than the Riddler. The Riddler is actually happy to see Batman because apparently he's been trying to reach him too. And as he believes, they must work together in uncovering the corruption that exists within Gotham. So he gives Coulson and Batman a series of riddles to solve, with the entirety of Gotham watching that live stream as it occurs. Coulson is confused by all of these riddles, but Batman is quick-witted and able to answer the questions on the spot,
The answer's justice.
buying Coulson a little little more time to live. The final question that Riddler asks hits a little close to home. He asks Coulson for the informant's name, the Rat, as Batman calls it, who helped the Gotham police catch gangster Salvatore Maroni and his entire crime operation. And Coulson immediately rejects answering this question, claiming that he's got loved ones that will be hunted down, whether or not he stays alive.
They'll kill them too.
So he'd rather die himself than spill the beans on his less than innocent associates. And the Riddler is angered. This is exactly the kind of cowardice that he expected from Coulson. So in a moment of repulsion towards Coulson, he begins counting down the collar bomb, and Batman scrambles to do something to save Coulson's life. But unfortunately, the clock runs out. And the explosion not only ends Coulson, but also blasts right in Batman's face, sending him flying backwards. Like in a lot of movies, there's a bit of a switcheroo here. So I'm going to backtrack a few scenes and explain how Batman breaking into the Iceberg Lounge is actually crossing the first threshold, sequence number 5. So this sequence captures the moment that a hero commits to their journey and crosses the gateway between their ordinary world and the special world. For Batman, unfortunately, this special world is an even darker underground ring of crime, beyond the ordinary street thugs that he's been punching and fighting for his first 2 years in this mission. After being briefed by Riddler, Batman arrives to investigate and battles his way into the Iceberg Lounge. The cinematography here is masterful, as Batman moves his way through the dark, strobing red lights of the Iceberg Lounge until Penguin arrives to greet him and agrees to a more subdued conversation. Now, Batman doesn't get much information out of the Penguin, but he learns of Selina Kyle's presence as a waitress in the lounge. And this will begin our ongoing B story, as Selina is a small-time thief, also running around in the nights dressed as a cat. But things get serious for Selina as well, because she starts looking for her roommate and friend Annika, who also works at the lounge, but is now gone missing. But sadly, Selina finds Annika's dead body in the trunk of a car at the scene of a drug deal, which the Penguin is corroborating. Upon analyzing the Riddler's rat clue, Jim Gordon and Batman have deduced that the Penguin may just be the informant. So with Batman, Penguin, and Catwoman on the same scene begins one of the most iconic sequences in this film, because now it's time for some fun and games. With his Batmobile roaring in the darkness of this rainy evening, Batman begins a car chase after Penguin to track him down and make him spill the beans. As I mentioned, the Batmobile car chase is destined to become an iconic moment. It's the quintessential Batman experience, complete with roaring engines, a gripping soundtrack, and the thrill of a rain-soaked pursuit. And so for fans like us, the Batman film wouldn't be complete without a prominent appearance by the Batmobile. And this is one we're going to want to relive again and again. And in fact, I picked this up last Christmas. So, ooh. And perhaps the most frightening moment occurs that truly captures the fear of Batman. At the end of this chase, Penguin and his car lie upside down, totaled in the crash, after he's failed to get away. And from his driver's side window, he witnesses a caped figure emerging from the fiery wreckage behind him, walking upside down, very much resembling a bat hanging upside down in a cave. And as Batman reaches him, he peers down and he meets Penguin's eyes straight on. So upon interrogation, Batman and Gordon learn that Penguin is not the informant that they or the Riddler was looking for. This was a false hypothesis. The rat still lies out there somewhere, and the Riddler is searching after him. But as they continue down Riddler's trails, Batman and Gordon learn about an abandoned orphanage in Gotham. An orphanage that originally received fundings from the Wayne family. But now this building is in ruins. As Batman and Gordon enter a large room with a projector, they hear a news broadcast being played, with Thomas Wayne speaking. The Riddler leaks evidence that Thomas, who was running for mayor before he was murdered, hired Falcone to kill a journalist who was writing a story about Martha Wayne's family history of mental illnesses. And here begins our sequence number 6. Tests allies, and enemies. Because it's here that the man behind the mask, Bruce Wayne, will face a great test. One that will make him question the actions of his own father and try to piece together who's really the ally and who's really the enemy this whole time. Riddler's grudge against the Waynes is therefore revealed, and so is revealed his next target, Bruce Wayne himself. It's confirmed to Batman that the Riddler has already made his next move to kill Bruce Wayne, and currently Alfred is inside the Wayne Manor, meaning that he's in danger. And so that hunch was correct, as Riddler cunningly sent an explosive inside an envelope package that Alfred almost opened, and the ensuing explosion injures Alfred. Now we've reached the midpoint. Because so far, like Batman, the Riddler had been targeting and unraveling the corruption inside of Gotham. But now, Bruce Wayne and the legacy of the Wayne family has become the target. As Alfred slowly comes back to consciousness, Bruce confronts him about the truth behind his father being responsible for the murder of that journalist.
You lied to me.
With so many questions and concerns in his mind, this is the approach to the Inmost cave for Bruce. The whole reason that Bruce set out to become the Batman was to avenge his parents' death by striking fear into the minds of new criminals and to keep another kid from being orphaned again in this dangerous city. But now, that whole mission is meaningless if his own father turns out to be a murderer. Alfred insists that Thomas only asked Falcone to threaten the journalist into silence, that Thomas planned to turn himself and Falcone over to the police once he found out that Falcone actually murdered the journalist instead. So Thomas Wayne was a good man. Alfred believes that Falcone had Thomas and Martha killed in order to silence them. So in a sincere moment, Bruce speaks his heart out and tells Alfred how much he means to him.
I never thought I'd feel fear like that again.
After seeing him hurt like this and even on the brink of death, Alfred offers his hand to Bruce, and we zoom out of the scene with a great understanding of the friendship and familial love that these two share. When Batman reunites with Selina Kyle, she shares a dark secret with him. She reveals that the criminal boss, Carmine Falcone, is actually her father, and Falcone was the informant who exposed vital information about Salvatore Moroni's operation, and Falcone rising to take that new throne. And now we enter the ordeal. Selina is armed with a gun, and she flees away from Batman, and she heads to the Iceberg Lounge to avenge her friend Annika's death by killing Falcone, her own father, and Batman and Jim Gordon have to pursue her, breaking into the Iceberg Lounge themselves to prevent her from committing a crime and to instead arrest Falcone for issuing Annika's murder. And now their mission becomes a race against time, with Batman battling through the goons in this Iceberg Lounge. Meanwhile, Selina's pursuit takes a dangerous turn as she engages in a scuffle with Falcone, who begins to choke her. However, Batman arrives in time and knocks down Falcone, saving Selina Kyle. Jim Gordon and his fellow officers lead Falcone out of the lounge, with Batman at their side. And as they emerge into the parking lot, Falcone stands beneath the glow of a street lamp. But suddenly, a gunshot rings out, striking Falcone in the chest and killing him. This chilling act fulfills the Riddler's cryptic clue, bring the rat into the light. And just like that, Falcone meets the same fate as the other corrupt officials that were being targeted by the Riddler. As the police scramble across the street to find the shooter, they manage to pinpoint the Riddler, whose real name is Edward Nashton, sitting inside a cafe, drinking coffee with a question mark designed into the cream. I mean, talk about what a Starbucks barista has to do. This leads to his long-awaited arrest. That's sequence number 9, the reward, because finally, Gotham's defenders have arrested this serial killer. Now, Batman arrives at Arkham Asylum to question the Riddler, and he discovers that the Riddler has, in a disturbing way, drawn inspiration from Batman's own fight against the city's corruption. However, the Riddler's approach is far more violent. Now, we all know that Batman has one unwavering rule. He never crosses the line, as doing so would make him no different from the very evils that he fights. But this is a significant departure from the positive impact that he intended to have on Gotham.
You inspired me.
It turns out that while trying to reduce crime by using his symbol to strike fear, he unintentionally gave rise to a new breed of criminals, leading to more suffering, including the creation of more orphans like the mayor's son. As Batman denounces Riddler's actions and his twisted methods right to his face, here occurs a moment of stunning surprise number 2. Riddler cryptically reveals that there's still more to this plan. And so Batman hurries back and he uncovers a follow-up plan, a set of vehicles rigged with explosives strategically placed around the city's seawalls. Unfortunately, it's too late to prevent the disaster. The explosives are detonated, causing a massive flood inside Gotham, with water quickly rising to leg-deep levels in the streets. What Batman also learns is that Riddler has been radicalizing even more Gotham citizens through a dark web social network, and their target, the new mayor, Bella Real. This crisis forces Batman to make a critical choice, and he heads for Mayor Real's induction ceremony as a means to save her from Riddler's sleeper agents. This is the break into Act 3. The transformation phase. The Riddler has turned Gotham into an unpredictable mess, and Batman must do his part to save the innocents from further harm and also stop more people from becoming criminals like the Riddler. So this sets us on the road back home as Batman and Selina Kyle arrive at the Gotham Square Garden Arena separately, which is basically MSG. This is the venue for new Mayor Bella Real's induction ceremony. And so battle ensues on the light structures at the ceiling of the arena as the vigilantes gather with snipers and other weapons in hand. Batman is here to fight them and stop them. Selina also gets up there and she supports Batman in this battle. As she pulls Batman from almost falling off a ledge, a thug arrives from behind and he begins choking her, with Batman still reeling from the effects of a point-blank shotgun hit. So in a moment of panic, he injects himself with a green steroid. Maybe that's the same venom that Bane uses. Fun Easter egg, but who knows? And he begins pummeling the thug right in his face until Gordon and other policemen arrive to pull them apart and plead Batman to stop. As they unmask the thug, he menacingly also proclaims that he's vengeance. This is an important moment here. In a way, that word and its use dies for Batman, and so dies that previous version of Batman that used vengeance as a driver for his actions. You see, because Batman realizes the folly of his ways, now having witnessed Riddler and these thugs in front of him all gaining inspiration from his vigilantism as the Batman, but all getting that purpose twisted beyond his wildest imagination. He realizes that the bitterness by which he went at the criminals in Gotham have only inspired a new wave of radicalized vigilantes that think they can repeat Batman's tactics, albeit in a more violent fashion, to see the change that they want. It was the same thing with Riddler. So in a moment of resurrection, Batman takes on a new mission: to be a savior and provider of justice, as he witnesses a group of civilians below him about to be electrocuted by rogue wires. So he guides the citizens out of the flood with a red flare in hand, leading them towards a safe exit. This symbolizes his newfound approach and resurrection of character as the Batman. And so the return with the Elixir is actually narrated by Batman in the background, as we witness different visuals of a completely flooded Gotham City, the ordinary world that Batman left behind on his pursuit after Gotham's underworld. But now, after returning, having finally captured the Riddler, Gotham is no longer the same, and neither is Batman himself. We then see visuals of Batman helping search and rescue teams throughout the night into the early morning by saving injured and helpless civilians. Batman carries a young girl in his arms as she's lifted up in a first responder helicopter, and while doing so, he makes a realization. He understands that he can't bring about positive change in Gotham City through vengeance. Instead, the key is to become a beacon of hope for the city's people. He must not inspire the criminal elements in Gotham, but rather represent Batman as a symbol of hope and justice. And this marks the transformation of Batman, shifting from a warning sign to a symbol of hope for the masses. He continues to combat the criminal elements of Gotham, but now he does so from a position of instilling fear, while embodying hope. And then we cut to his last meeting with Selina Kyle. She tries to convince him to leave Gotham City with her, so they can start a new life somewhere else, especially because with Falcone gone and the entire city underwater, there's going to be an even madder scramble for power in Gotham's underworld. But Batman is resolute. He knows he must stay in Gotham, even if that means giving up his love and going separate ways from Selina because he has a responsibility towards Gotham City. So we watch this final image play out as they each speed away on their bikes, going in opposite directions. Batman glances at his side mirror just as Selina leaves the city. Maybe it's a final glimpse, or perhaps it's a temporary goodbye, with the hope that they'll reunite when his duties as Batman no longer keep them apart. So to give a quick wrap up of this story and exercise, let's summarize everything we saw play out in this film using Dan Harmon's story circle. You need go. Batman is the you, a vigilante early in his career that dons a cape and a mask and roams around the streets of Gotham City in the nights, tracking down existing criminals and instilling fear upon those that dare to become one. Elsewhere, a high-profile crime is committed as Gotham's mayor is murdered, and the killer leaves a clue specifically for Batman. So Batman needs to uncover the secrets behind these riddles and get to the bottom of this new serial killer and his goals. In the midst of finding answers, Batman must go deeper into Gotham's underworld, this time fighting not just street crooks, but the most dangerous criminals that systematically control the city. Search, find, take. The Riddler sends Batman and policeman Jim Gordon on a search mission to find an informant that betrayed his old crime boss and took over the underground empire. Batman goes on what's like a wild goose chase after the Penguin, or a wild penguin chase, I had to say it, but no luck because Penguin's not the one. With help from Selina Kyle and Alfred, Batman learns that Carmine Falcone is not only the informant, but he's also the criminal that ordered his parents' murder. So they all head to the Iceberg Lounge to find Falcone, and through a risky break-in, they finally take him into police custody. When they step outside, bringing Falcone into the light, the Riddler shoots him dead from afar. Now, the find and take operation begins for this assailant, Riddler, and they find him too. But as Batman learns after interrogating him, there's still more to this plan. Return changed. So Batman finally returns to the city after capturing Falcone, though that didn't work out in the end, and the Riddler, and closing that chapter. But the city is not the same. Not only have the people of Gotham changed, with Riddler's sleeper cells now activated and in pursuit to assassinate the newly elected mayor, but also a massive flood triggered by the Riddler endangers the life of millions in this city. Batman undergoes a change as well, as he recognizes his past mistakes in being a symbol of vengeance,
I'm vengeance.
which inadvertently inspired more ruthless criminals. Instead, he realizes that he needs to embody hope and justice in order to genuinely transform Gotham for the better. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how the Batman follows the storytelling framework. So we basically reverse engineered the story, figured out why the journey played out like it did, and we figured out why so many of you loved this film in the first place. That is the magic of this framework. So if you didn't know already, the storytelling framework is free to take in the link below, in PDF and image format. So go give this exercise a try for yourself. And if you find things differently, drop your opinions below because I'm all ears for a friendly and open debate. So you might have noticed like I have like a new rig for my microphone. It's kind of this whole stand. So I'm trying to see how I can best kind of position this. Being too close to my mouth is a good thing. Should I be away from it maybe a couple inches? I don't know. So I'm learning this whole mic thing as we go. But thank you all for watching so much. Please like and support the channels, and I'll keep making these videos. Salute.